Hello friends, welcome back to working on our monochromatic selfies. All right, so I finished mine. You're gonna see the last few steps of how we're gonna fill these in together in this video. So right now you just have a sketch of your self-portrait that we used our guide sheets to help us finish, all right, and that we did in the first video. If you didn't watch the first video, go back to the first video and do the first few steps, so that way you can finish up and complete your own monochromatic selfie today. All right, so mine is done, and this is what it looks like. So this is my self-portrait that I filled in all different hues and shades of green. That's what makes it monochromatic. So you can choose whatever color you want. I just decided to use green, all right? But when these are all done together, they're gonna look really, really bright and colorful, and I am so excited to see what they look like. So when you finish the steps today for this week's project, make sure that you send it in to us at the partnership or send it in to me, so that we can look at what everyone's projects look like and maybe even create some kind of like really big collage of everyone's work. I think that would look really, really beautiful and be such a great representation of all of the work that all of our partnership students have been doing in these virtual enrichment classes, all right? So a few things to keep in mind as we work today. So monochromatic means that it's going to be one color. It can be a dark shade of that color, it can be a light shade of that color, but it's going to stay one color. Just like mine is all green, it's light green and it's dark green, right? Different hues and shades of green, but it's all green, okay? Another thing to keep in mind, I used a Sharpie to kind of go over the dark lines that I wanted to keep in my self-portrait. If you don't have a Sharpie, you can use any kind of black marker. If you have a pack of markers, then go ahead and just use the black one to trace over your selfie, all right? The other thing that I want to remind you is when you are coloring, make sure that you're going nice and slow. You're gonna see my hand in the video might be going really, really fast because I speed up some of the videos, so that way it goes faster for you guys who are watching. But make sure you're going really nice and slow, no scribble scrabbles, right? Nice, even colors, and make sure that when you're coloring that your hand is moving one way. If you pay attention to mine, most of the time I like to color and my hand goes up and down, up and down, up and down the whole time that I'm coloring. If you're someone who likes to go side to side, that's fine, you can go side to side, but try and do it the whole time that you're coloring, because that's gonna help you avoid that scribble scrabble and gonna make your monochromatic selfie look even better than you could have done before. All right, so follow along. I'm super excited for these to be done, you guys. Let's go. All right, guys, so to keep going with our self-portrait, you need to get your self-portrait, and then you need to get some stuff that we could color this in with. So I have my pack of crayons, I have colored pencils, and I have my markers. If you don't have all of these things, that is totally fine. Maybe you just have a pack of crayons at home. That's totally fine. If you have something else that you could add color to your portrait with, like maybe an oil pastel, or maybe you even have some watercolor paints or something, then you can use those as well. But I'm just gonna do mine with my crayons, my markers, and my colored pencils. And I grabbed a Sharpie too, because I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna kind of make some of my lines a little bit darker and more black, so that when I'm coloring them in, I don't kind of like lose some of the details of my self-portrait. All right, so I'm gonna put my Sharpie to the side because that's the thing that I'm gonna use first. To make these monochromatic selfies, what that means is that they are going to be all different materials of the same color. So what you can do is you can choose one color. It can be your favorite color, or it can just be a color that you wanna use today. And you are going to pick out that color of all of your materials. Let's see, I'm gonna make mine green because I like green. I think it's a good summer color. But also because I could use dark green and I could use light green. So I'm gonna pick out all of my green materials. Whether it's dark or light, it doesn't matter. As long as it's green, I'm gonna pick it out. All right, so I have a lot of green materials because I have a lot of art materials at my house because I'm an art teacher. So I have all of these green materials that I can use when it comes time to actually color in my portrait. So I'm gonna put those to the side. If you don't have as many materials, that's totally fine. Maybe you're doing purple and you only have one purple of each material. That's totally fine. Maybe you don't even have colored pencils at home, right? You can do this with just purple if you only have one or two things, okay? So I'm gonna go through the next few steps so that you can see how we use our monochromatic materials to color in our portrait. So like I said, I'm gonna use my Sharpie first. If you wanna skip this step, you totally can. This is just something that I like to do because I think it makes my drawings always look a little bit better and help pop a little bit more after I add color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Sharpie and I'm going to go over some of the important lines in my portrait that I drew, and I don't want to accidentally get erased or smudged or colored over, so that way you can still see myself. I'm not counting this as a marker, right? This is just like using the pencil and adding in some dark lines so that I can see it. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do with my markers, so I have two green markers. I'm gonna start with my dark one and then I'll go to my light one, is I'm gonna start adding in some like highlights in each section of my portrait. So let's see, I'm gonna put some green. See, I don't really like to color in really big chunks with markers because sometimes it makes my paper too wet and it kind of gets like that crinkly, wrinkly effect. So I like to just use markers as kind of like, I don't know, kind of just like to add some highlights and some smaller details, right? They're good for filling in small spaces, but I don't really love using markers to color in like really big areas. So that's what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna go and I'm going to put some marker just around some random parts of my portrait. All right, so now you can probably tell my coloring is not looking really realistic, right? Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this whole paper different kinds of green using my markers, my crayons, and my colored pencils, right? That's what it means when it's monochromatic. So it's still a self-portrait of me, but what I'm doing is I'm using all the same color to fill in the different spaces and different areas, including the background, with one green hue. So before I keep going with my crayons, I'm gonna just go in with my eraser and erase any lines that I don't want anymore because I went over with the marker and the Sharpie. So I should be able to kind of get rid of some extra pencil lines that I don't want anymore. Okay, so now this is where you guys can get really creative and start making different kinds of patterns and using different colors, not different colors, different hues of your color, right, to fill in your portrait. So I decided I'm gonna do crayon for my hair and the background, and I'm gonna use colored pencils to do probably most of my face. Oh, and then I'll probably use crayons for my shirt too. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep going until I fill in all the white space in my portrait with different hues of the color green to make it a monochromatic self-portrait. All right, so while I was coloring, I actually decided that instead of just doing a plain old crayon background, I was gonna put a little bit of a pattern. So I'm gonna draw some stripes in the background of my portrait. And then I'm gonna color those in with different kinds of green materials to finish up my drawing. All right, so that's it. I'm pretty much done with my monochromatic selfie now. I drew in my whole self-portrait, I traced it with my Sharpie, and then I filled it in with different hues of green using my markers, my crayons, and my colored pencils. Yours might look totally different because you're going to look totally different and you are a different artist and you might choose a different color, right? We want to see everybody's creativity shine in this project. All right, so do your absolute best. If you want to choose a different color, you don't have to choose green. You can do purple or red or orange. If you want to draw a different background, then you can definitely try a different pattern in the background, okay? And send these in to us because we want to see how awesome your monochromatic selfies came out, all right? Great job, you guys. This is not an easy project, and I'm so excited to see how you did. I'll see you next time.